What's going on, guys? Fun with Knives back again. And as you know, I love my Tops knives. I do. I think they're so good at so many different things. And honestly, a lot of their designs just speak to me personally. I mean, I scroll through their catalog, which is immense. They have so many different offerings. And I want, 80, 90% of them to be in my collection. So I love what they make. I think they make their knives out of great materials. Their sheaths are always awesome. The fit and finish on these always blows me away. They're tough as hell, they're reliable, and they're made right here in the USA. So what's not to like? I mean, honestly, yeah, they're a little bit overbuilt. All three of these, I think, are. They're probably a little thicker than they need to be. Their edge geometry is not the best for slicing, but I don't use, or I didn't have the intent to use any of these knives on, slicing tomatoes or doing those finer tasks. These are made for kind of my more hardcore stuff, which would, I say hardcore like I'm a hardcore dude. My hardcore stuff would be wood processing and basically going out into nature, because every time I'm outside, hiking, camping, going to the range or anything, I always have one of these two blades. This one's kind of small, it's its own animal. I really need to review these two. But the Cut 4.0 and the Dawn Warrior are always near me when I'm doing an outdoor activity, because they're the ones I trust. They're the blades I rely on when I definitely need the blade to work, whether that's creating a fire or, just whatever I'm doing out there. I think these are the blades for me. So you're looking at my little Tops collection, and I know you guys clicked on the video because I promise, I will eventually get to the review of this knife. That is the Tops Scandi Woodsman. And this 4th edition to the Tops collection that I have going here is very different. I mean, look, it doesn't have that Kydex sheath. It doesn't have the tactical black coating all over it. And it's not extremely thick. So what in the world is Tops doing not making these overbuilt combat style fixed blades? Well, with this offering, the Scandi Woodsman, they've created one of my favorite fixed blades of all time. I can't really tell you what drew me to this knife. I don't know if it was the way the handle looks. I thought it would be ergonomic before I ever even touched it. I don't know if it's because I wanted to finally try out a Scandi grind. I don't know if it's because I liked the tumbled finish, or I wanted a knife with a nice leather sheath. It could have been all of the above. But I am so glad I own this knife, because to me, it's literally good at everything. And I know exactly where this review is going to end up on the channel, and that's in my favorites playlist, front and center. So let me give you guys the specs and we'll hop into this review here. I know, 3-minute intro, and then we get into the review. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just raving about this knife and Tops as a company. I wish I had more Tops knives. In fact, I'm kind of saving up for 1 or 2, so maybe that'll pan out. Blade length on this guy is 3.5 inches. Blade HQ's got the handle length listed as 3 1/8. Maybe that's the length of just the handle scales, but it's definitely more than that. I'd say it's closer to 4, maybe 4 1/4. So your overall length on this guy is around 7.625 inches. Your blade thickness is a reasonable 0.13 inches, so around 1/8 of an inch. And your handle thickness is 0.61, with a weight of 3.9 ounces. Now, I think the Scandi Woodsman or the Scandi Trekker, they have another model that's got kind of different ergonomics but the same size, or really any of the Scandi ground offerings from Tops, are geared towards the bushcraft community, which I am not a member. I wish I had those cool bushcraft skills. I just don't. I don't have the time to learn them, and honestly, I don't have a need for them at this time, even though I think the concept the concept of bushcrafting and making shelters using wood, all those different skills that they have, I think it's very cool. And I think this Scandi Woodsman would be good at a lot of those tasks, but I'm definitely not that. So why am I interested in this knife? Well, I thought it would be a good EDC fixed blade, and it definitely is. Here's the sheath, which we'll talk about in a moment, but it's a nice leather sheath, which I haven't really had before. Something different for sure. And this Scandi grind, let's hop right into the blade here since I'm all over the place. This is not a true Scandi grind, as I'm sure a lot of you guys know. True Scandis come down to a 0-degree edge bevel, meaning that there's no secondary edge bevel, which you see one here where that light's hitting that secondary bevel. Tops says that this strengthens the edge, which I'm sure it does because you're not coming down to quite such a keen edge, making it much less brittle. But I think it performs similar to a Scandi edge, just the ones I've used of Friends blades in the past, like Mora's and the Cold Steel Finwolf and stuff. It works similarly, but it's much easier to sharpen. I've sharpened this knife a little bit, I've stropped it, and it really takes a nice edge without you having to worry about maintaining that insanely keen 0-degree edge bevel. So I really do like the grind on this thing. I much prefer it as of right now to a true Scandi. Now, the blade on this thing is something I like a lot, and that is a drop point with a little bit of belly that is wide. I like them wide. I don't know why, if it's just for aesthetic purposes or they just seem slicier to me, but I always like these kind of drop points. This is a really standard blade shape, again, that I think lends itself to be good at nearly everything. Made in the USA on this side, and then Scandi Woodsman and the Tops logo here. You can see you got a kind of a tumbled acid stonewash finish on the flats that I just absolutely love. I think it's beautiful. It's got a nice depth to it. It's nice and uniformly scratched, if you will, from that stonewashing. It just looks awesome. And I think it'll help protect that steel a little bit because, like the rest of the Tops knives, this is 1095 steel, at least the rest of the Tops knives that I own. I mean, 1095 is not very corrosion resistant. I think we all know that. It is tough. It's good for sort of impact tasks, and it's definitely easy to resharpen. But if you don't take care of your 1095 steel blades, they will rust on you. And I have noticed that with this Scandi grind, there's not really a finish. It's just kind of a belt satin finish on that grind. It will rust pretty readily. I mean, if you're cutting open an apple and then leave it for a couple hours, you're going to have some marks on this. And it's just something, it's kind of annoying at times, but I like 1095 for what it is. Something easy to resharpen. It's tough. I know it's not just going to break on me, and it's just so easy to maintain if you just put a little bit of effort into it. And with Tops knives, differential heat treat, it just really performs well. So the blade, I like the grind. I like the size. It's that kind of in that perfect EDC knife size for me, honestly. Like this ZT 0095. I think these are pretty similar in size and in use, I think. Once the ZT, of course, is open. In fact, they have similar blade shapes. I love the blade a lot. I mean, it's got kind of billboard thing going on with all the big branding, but at least I like what it says. It's not like SOG, Special Forces, Elite, Tactical Tonto, whatever, written all over those SOG knives. So I love the blade a lot. Let's move to the ergonomics, which is arguably the best part about the Scandi Woodsman. Oh, I hesitate to use this word. They are nearly flawless for a whole lot of cutting. I don't know what it is about this, but that huge finger choil and those tan canvas micarta scales just feel wonderful. The jimping on top is sharp. There's no doubt about that. I mean, let me press my thumb in. You guys can see it. It definitely lets you know it's there. But really, in a pinch grip, that's perfect. The saber grip and hammer grip, even your kind of reverse grip, you're going to be doing something like that. It's perfect. The ergonomics on this are awesome. They truly, truly are. In fact, there's a knife that is very similar to the Scandi Woodsman. I think one came from the other, and that is the Lioness. And although that's kind of a girl knife, Lioness, I love it. And it's actually slightly larger than a Scandi Woodsman. I'm really, really thinking about getting it because the ergonomics on this are truly remarkable. I mean, even in a reverse grip, which I doubt you'd use this knife in, it feels awesome. So ergonomics, I mean, 10 out of 10 if I had some sort of rating scale. The tan canvas micarta scales, I always tend to like linen micarta a little bit better, as on the Dawn Warrior here. This has got more of a soft feel to it. I think it absorbs the moisture from your hand a little bit better. I think it's a little bit more tacky. Not tacky as in it looks bad, like tactful. There's more to touch and grab onto. The Cut 4.0 shares the same handle material as the Scandi Woodsman. That's that canvas micarta. It's closer to G10, I would say. You can definitely tell it's micarta, but I really like the linen micarta more. But I do like the little design they have in the handle here. There's some small hills and valleys in there, and it's mainly a flat scale, but it does feel really good in hand. Held on with 3 screws on each side. There's some kind of back jimping that'll nestle in your palm pretty well, give you a little bit of traction. That tumbled finish is on the rest of the blade, just the grind does not have that tumbled finish. Fit and finish on this is just awesome. All the scales, the little Fibrox white liners line up perfectly, and then you do have your lanyard hole here, which I think is really well done. I mean, I think a lot of bushcraft people or people that are interested in the Scandi Woodsman would probably want to have some sort of lanyard. I've actually thought about it. I think it might fit this knife, at least in looks. So let's move on to the sheath. And this is something I was a little bit worried about at first because I don't have a whole lot of experience with leather sheaths. And this is US steer hide, so this is all USA made. The Tops logo is embossed. They're super heavy duty, double stitching on that one side. The fit is awesome. I mean, it's in there and I'm gonna shake it hard and it will not come out. So, I mean, you could run this vertically. I don't think I'd recommend it because there's not a whole lot of positive retention. You wouldn't know if it started to slip out. But I have no worries at all that this is gonna come out inadvertently, just, you know, kind of a vertical carry. The sheath goes up fairly high on the handle. It's not hard to extract. I usually do kind of the 3-finger thing where I grab it with these 3, and then my first finger, my pointer finger, will nestle into that finger choil. Very quick access. I love the sheath, except for this little attachment system. It's essentially just a little button here with a little leather loop. Now, running it vertical on a belt, it's fine. I run it on a backpack strap vertically. It works okay, but it's not modular whatsoever. So if you wanted to run this horizontal, you can't. I mean, of course, there's things you can do. You can wrap paracord, or there is modifications you can make, but I wish that it had kind of like the attachment system of the Tops Baja 3.0, where it has a way to run a belt both vertically and horizontally. I think that would fit this knife much better. So it does work, but it kind of locks you into a singular mode of carry, and that is vertical on some sort of belt or backpack strap. Now, something to note here, not that I think this is some knife that you need insanely quick access to, or it needs to be insanely tough, because I think this is made maybe as an EDC fixed blade. I don't know, all sorts of philosophy of uses I think this is good for, but the snap is, it doesn't have the greatest retention of all time. I counted twice in the past however many months that I've used, owned, and carried this knife that it just snapped off. And actually didn't fall off my belt, it just kind of came open and stayed there. And then I noticed that I was wobbling side to side a little bit, and I just snapped it back on. So, not the most secure method of carry of all time, definitely. But for what it is, I think the sheath is pretty nice. I mean, it's definitely good quality. I'm noticing that, I don't know if this is something that comes along with leather sheaths though, is that you do get some black matter, you know, just a little bit of flecks and things coming out of the sheath at times, like you're seeing on the reviewing table as I'm opening, or I'm, you know, taking the knife in and out. But really there's some coloration, some black coloration that's getting on the micarta handle scales here. And it kind of bothered me in the beginning, I'll be honest. But honestly, it's not doing anything to the knife other than hurting it aesthetically slightly. But as this knife gets more used, it's going to get more scratched, and honestly, I think it's going to add to the kind of used and broken in look. So I'm not too worried about it, but I have been told that you can either spray something or use some sort of solvent or something in there that'll kind of block or keep that coloration inside the sheath, even though obviously I'm not too knowledgeable in that. So now that we are almost 14 minutes in on a simple fixed blade review, let's answer the question. Do I recommend the Tops Scandi Woodsman? Hell yeah, I do. This knife is awesome. Comes in right at a, you know, 95 to 105. I mean, right around the $100 price point. And I think it is a phenomenal knife. Great design, great ergonomics. I think it's good steel, good sheath, good grind, great size. It's just, it doesn't do a whole lot wrong. I haven't been this excited about a fixed blade in a long time. The Scandi Woodsman is just kind of my go-to. It really is. I mean, if I need something tougher, sure. That's why I have this knife, the Dawn Warrior, you know, that Schrade that inadvertently broke on me recently. So maybe that's not the toughest thing of all time. But if you're looking for a blade that can do your wood processing, be your EDC fixed blade, be your day hike blade, you know, maybe, you know, gut some fish or do some skinning or anything like that, I think this would be a phenomenal choice. So, holy crap. I apologize for the long video. I do appreciate you guys sticking it out. And of course, have fun with your knives.